Good morning. Welcome to my kitchen and Cathy's Uncomplicated Cooking. So let's get started, and we're going to do several things today that I hope will be very beneficial to your cooking. My whole premise on what I'm doing here is to teach people how to cook and not just what to cook. I could throw recipes at you all day long, but I want you to understand what they're all about and the variations, and there's so many things that come into play that if you're trying to make a recipe off of something off of TV or whatever, it's not going to probably turn out the same. So we're going to start off with the 5 basic sauces that we talked about the last session, and they are bechamel, which is a very fancy word for white sauce. There's velouté, there is brown sauce, and there's tomato sauce and hollandaise sauce. And they are not hard to do, but they are the premise for a lot of different sauces. I have a sauce book that's about that thick. So no worries, we're not gonna go over all those because we'll be here for years. So anyway, so let's start off with our bechamel, and we're going to take a half a stick of butter in a saucier pan. Now I wanna tell you about a saucier pan. I love this because the sides are sloped. If you don't have that kind of a pan, there's a little gizmo here called a little whisk that will get in the corners if you have a pan that's straight sided. So anyway, so we're gonna let that melt, and the bechamel is gonna start off with a roux, R-O-U-X. Another fancy word, but it's a very basic idea for doing a lot of your sauces. Most of your sauces start off with a roux. You need to turn that down just a little bit. Heat makes a big difference. The kind of stove you have makes a difference. I like cooking with gas because I can control it, but you might like electric better. I'll pray for you because, you know, I like gas better. Anyway, so, oh boy, this still is still too hot. This makes a big difference right here, your heat. Let's turn that way down. Okay, sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. So the tricks behind some of this are easy if you know what they are. So I've got my butter over here kind of melting. No, you can see that. Now this is a half a cup of flour. Now I'm gonna not add the whole thing, but the important part is to keep whisking, whisking, whisking. I would not use a spoon. I would not use a spatula. I would use a whisk. This is one of the tools in my kitchen that I cannot do without. So we're gonna keep adding a little bit of the flour. And now this has gotten quite thick, but we're gonna let that cook for about 2 minutes. And in the meantime, I'm gonna tell you, you can start off with oil or butter. I would not start off with anything but those 2 things. Sometimes I use bacon grease, depends on what I'm making. If I'm making Mexican food, it's always bacon grease. You can't have enough bacon. Okay, so we're gonna let that cook just a little bit because the flour needs to cook. I think that's one of the mistakes that people make is they don't let that flour cook long enough, and then their sauce or gravy doesn't taste right. I have a couple of lovely guests here today. I have my friend Cathy and her daughter KJ, and they may be asking some questions along the way. So, see
I already have one.
You what?
I already have a question.
Oh, you have a question?
I do.
Okay.
So, did you use all of the flour? Or?
No, I use probably minus about a tablespoon of flour.
Okay.
So
a little at a
again,
time.
look at it. Yeah, look at it. Just don't dump everything in. Now we're going to start with half and half. You can use milk. You can use heavy cream. You could use heavy cream or half and half milk. This does not work with any kind of a stock.
And how much did you?
We're going to keep adding because this is real thick right now.
So you just start out to
Yeah, a little bit.
slowly.
And keep whisking, whisking, whisking. It's still a little bit too, it's hard to get this kind of a little deal. Okay, so we're just going to keep whisking. And we're probably going to use a couple of cups of the half and half on that. So that's what a roux is. It's a combination of fat and flour is what a roux is. And if you have it too hot, if you have your temperature up too hot, the flour will cook way before anything else cooks, and you won't get the lumps out. It'll be difficult to get the lumps out. So I always use a whisk. It's just an incredible tool in the kitchen that will help you get lumps out all the time. So see, it's still a little bit on the thick side, if you can see that. Way too thick. So just keep adding. Cathy and I were talking a minute ago about recipes, and a recipe to me is a suggestion, and I may change it up from one time to the next. It's cooking with your senses. Baking's a whole different story. It's kind of a science thing, and it's chemicals. Where cooking, please just make it your own recipe, because over the years there's a lot of recipes that I have found, and I've made them my own. And you need to do the same thing. We're going to talk about that when we make our chicken salad and our tuna salad. So we're getting there. This is getting better. Come out of there, flour. Come out of there, flour. Whoops, see, and I'm kind of a sloppy cook, by the way, just in case you wondered. Now you can go ahead and start to season this. Another trick to cooking is to season as you go. If you have layers of things, so I'm going to take a pinch of salt and add to this. So as you are layering your ingredients, salt along the way, not a lot, but I think that what happens is when people, they're like, why doesn't my food taste like yours or like so-and-so's or whoever? It's because they're not salting enough. Now I know that salt's bad for you, so there's a lot of things bad for you, but salt really enhances the flavors. So we're getting a lot of the lumps out, and as it kind of cooks, we don't want to boil this because it will separate. It's not going to be good. But this is different than our hollandaise, or I'm sorry, our Alfredo sauce that we made a couple of weeks ago. This is quite different. This starts out with a roux where that did not. So we're getting better on our lumps. They're coming out, and they eventually will. And if it just seems like it's still too thick, just add some more of your liquid.
And now what would you use this for?
It's the basis that I use for mac and cheese. A lot of your, like if you're doing a chicken pot pie, if you're doing some kind of a soup, you could add like my clam chowder. I start off with a roux and a bechamel sauce. So as we go along, when we talk about these specific recipes, because I will give you recipes to help you know how to use the things that we're making. So we're gonna stop with that because we need to move on. Okay, here we go. Let's start off with chicken salad. One of my favorites, my own recipe. I took an onion and put it in the freezer for about 15 minutes. How many of you have problems with onions bothering your eyes and you cry? And they used to say, hold a match in your mouth. All that does is make you look silly. Or run water. I mean, there's all kinds of things that people talk about on how to cut an onion or how to keep from crying. So this actually freezes the juices. And I'm going to show you a really fast, easy way. We did a short on this not too many weeks ago to show you how to do an onion. Now, you're going to love this. See all your little pieces. Voila. Now this is actually going in my tuna. That's a lot of onion, but there it is. So just do that. Cover your onion, put it in the freezer for about 15-20 minutes, and that solves that problem of crying. Okay, chicken salad. How to save money at the grocery store. I buy usually a whole chicken and boil it. And out of that whole chicken, I get light meat and I get dark meat and I get stock. Now, the difference between stock and broth is stock is made from bones, either roasted or boiled bones. Broth is the meat. And there is a difference, a big difference. If you want a full flavored liquid, I would boil that whole chicken, and it's cheaper. Then you debone it and do whatever. So in here we have light meat and dark meat. There's 2 cups right there. You know, food is so expensive. Groceries are so expensive now that we have got to learn how to save some money, and it's just going to be better. And then I take the stock and I put it in cups and put it in my freezer or baggies or whatever. So in here we've got 2 cups of chicken. We are going to have, another thing that I missed at first is everything in its place. You saw I had everything for the chicken salad right here. There is nothing more irritating than starting out a recipe and go, oh nuts, I don't have grapes, I don't have whatever. So get it all out there right at the beginning. Okay, so this is another recipe that you need to make your own. I use mayonnaise. This is a 1/2 cup of mayonnaise. You can use Miracle Whip if you need to, if you want to. I don't care for Miracle Whip, but that doesn't mean you don't. So we've got that. We have a little bit of, I have to show you some cute things. This will be this when it grows up. Anyway, so here we got a little bit of sour cream. It cuts that mayo taste a little bit. We're gonna have a pinch of garlic powder. I use green onions. Now I want you to notice how I'm cutting those. I'm not going do. I'm rocking that, and the tip of my knife is not coming off that board. Pretend like you have a ball in your hand. Keep those fingers out of the way. You should never cut anything up like this. And just chop away. And voila, you've got your onions. Use whatever kind of onion you want. If you want to use a purple onion, use a purple onion. If you want to use a white onion, use a white onion. I don't see any difference between a white onion and a yellow onion, if you want to know the truth about it. So anyway, so there's that. I have a 1/3 cup of sliced, I'm sorry, not sliced, slivered. There's a difference. Slivered, not sliced. Onion, almonds, so that's gonna go in there. You can make this your own. And a 1/2 cup of red grapes, seedless. You can use whatever colored grape you want, I don't care. You can. I like the color. And in watching some of those cooking shows, I've noticed that on these green onions, they go, oh, don't use the green part. I have no idea why they say that. I like the color of the green onion. I like the taste of the green onion. So to me, it works out really well. So we need a pinch of salt on this. Whatever suits you. I also use, I'm showing you guys all my tricks, by the way, all my little tips that I've never shared over the years because I've had my own catering business, and this is how I made my money. So I didn't want to share my recipes, but I'm sharing them now. So again, that kind of cuts. Now that is
And what was that?
Pardon me?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Worcestershire sauce.
Okay, thank you.
Just a tad, otherwise it gets to be too. Now you can make this curried. You can put curry powder in here. You can use apples in here. You can use pecans in here. Make it your own. This is my favorite, and it looks like I'm gonna have to have a little bit more mayonnaise. So in a minute, I'll add that before we eat it. I usually serve this on croissants, or what's really good as well is a 1/2 of an avocado with the seed taken out and a little bit of a scoop out made out of it, and put this in the middle, and boy, that is really, really good. So that is chicken salad. Tuna salad. Gonna do stuff a little bit differently. Now, again, you can do all kinds of things with this that you want to. We have our onion in there. I used a large can of albacore tuna in water because that's what we like. You can use the other kind if you want to that's done in oil, whatever you want to do. So I've drained it really well, and when I drain that, I squeeze it out of the can, and then I put it into a colander and squeeze it through that. And then on top of that, I wrap it in paper towel because I don't like any of that juice in there, that moisture. I have another 1/2 cup of mayonnaise. It's going to go in here. I can tell you right now that's not going to be enough. I would say it's going to be closer to 3/4 of a cup because this will absorb that mayonnaise. And pecans, chopped pecans, or pecans as they say in the South, I guess. I don't know.
No, pecans.
Pecan, okay,
Yes.
good, okay. And again, salt and a little pepper. 2 to taste. Adjust the seasonings. If you don't like that much salt, or if you need more salt, or if you want more pepper or whatever, garlic powder wouldn't work in here, by the way. I have to tell you a funny story. I used to cater to small aircraft, corporate jets and stuff like that. And one time I had a pilot call me. He goes, I don't know what you did to the tuna salad, but it was awful. Was it bad? I said, oh yeah, I always serve bad tuna salad to people. And anyway, what it was is that I didn't realize that you cannot put tuna salad on sourdough bread. Does not work. Ick, ick. So anyway, that is going to need more mayonnaise. So probably closer to a cup, because that's a good amount. So let's get back to our bechamel, and we'll see already there's a lot of those lumps. And if you keep on whisking like this, they will all go away. So you don't have to run it through a strainer. You can use this right away if you want to, or you can throw it in the freezer. This is a good base for a lot of things. Now, what I was going to tell you about roux is that was a blonde roux. If you want to make your roux darker, then that's where your gumbos come in. That's where your chili comes in. Those kind of things that has a darker, richer flavor to it. So, but this is a blonde roux. Anyway, so that's it for today. I hope you've learned something. I enjoyed this very much, and so come back to my kitchen on the next session. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.